every single night. It was the same. 2:03 a.m. Not 1:50, not 3 o'clock, almost exactly 2 a.m. I'd wake up from a dead sleep with this intense burning sensation in both feet. Not on the surface, deep inside, like something was on fire underneath the skin. The first few times, I told myself I'd slept in a bad position, that I'd cut off circulation somehow, that it would pass. It didn't pass. My name is Robert. I'm 68 years old, and for almost a year, that 2 a.m. burning was the most consistent thing in my life. I tried everything I could think of. I started sleeping with my feet uncovered. I kept a cold pack on the nightstand. Some nights I'd get up and stand barefoot on the bathroom tile just to get 20 minutes of relief from the cold. And then I'd go back to bed and lie there, waiting for it to ease enough to sleep. The strangest part was the daytime. During the day, I felt almost normal, a little tingling maybe, a little numbness in my toes, nothing dramatic enough to make me feel like something was seriously wrong. But every night, like clockwork, the burning came back. I finally mentioned it to my doctor, not because I thought it was urgent, but because it had gone on long enough that I couldn't keep pretending it wasn't happening. He listened. He ran some tests, and then he said two words that genuinely scared me: peripheral neuropathy. He explained it simply. When nerves, particularly in the feet and lower legs, don't receive adequate oxygen and blood flow, they begin to misfire. They send signals that shouldn't be sent. Pain signals, burning signals, at times when nothing is actually wrong. And at night, he told me, it gets worse, because that's when circulation naturally slows down. That's when I understood something that changed how I looked at everything. The burning at 2 a.m. wasn't random. It wasn't mysterious. It was a warning. My body had been trying to tell me something for months, and I'd been managing the symptom, the cold tile, the ice packs, instead of listening to what was underneath it. So today I want to share what I learned. Because if your feet burn at night, if you wake up to tingling, stabbing, or that deep electric-like pain that seems to come from nowhere, what I'm about to tell you may be the most useful thing you hear all week. Let's talk about why nerve pain gets worse at night. Because most people, even many doctors, don't explain this clearly enough. During the day, your body is in motion. You're walking, standing, shifting your weight. That movement keeps blood circulating through your legs and feet. It keeps oxygen moving to your nerve tissue. But at night, when you're lying still for 6, 7, 8 hours, peripheral circulation slows significantly. For a healthy person with flexible blood vessels and strong circulation, the body compensates for this automatically. But for someone over 60, especially someone with early or developing peripheral neuropathy, that compensation doesn't always work the way it should. The small blood vessels that supply your nerve endings narrow further. Oxygen delivery to the feet and lower legs drops, and nerve cells that are already under stress begin to fire erratically. That erratic firing is what you feel as burning, as electric pain, as the sensation that your feet are on fire at 2 in the morning, even though nothing external is touching them. The nerve isn't damaged in the way a broken bone is damaged. It's distressed, oxygen-starved, misfiring because it isn't getting what it needs to stay calm and function properly. And here's the part that most people completely overlook. The issue isn't just nerve damage. The issue is the environment the nerve is living in. Think about it this way. A plant doesn't die because something attacks it directly. It dies because the soil stops providing what it needs. The water runs out. The nutrients are depleted. The roots can't sustain what's growing above them. Your nerve tissue works the same way. When the vascular environment around your nerves deteriorates, when circulation is poor, when inflammation is chronic, when oxygen delivery is consistently inadequate, the nerves begin to break down, not because something is targeting them specifically, but because the conditions they depend on are no longer being met. And after 60, those conditions change in ways that most people aren't prepared for. The small blood vessels that feed peripheral nerves lose flexibility over time. The body produces less nitric oxide, the compound responsible for keeping blood vessels relaxed and open. Chronic low-grade inflammation, which increases naturally with age, creates ongoing stress in the tissue surrounding the nerves. And the myelin sheath, the protective coating around nerve fibers, becomes more vulnerable to that inflammation. All of this combines to create what researchers call a pro-neuropathic environment, a set of conditions that makes nerve dysfunction not just possible, but increasingly likely. And the hidden circulation factor, the one many doctors don't take the time to explain, is this. It's not about whether blood is flowing. It's about whether blood is reaching the right places in sufficient volume with enough oxygen, consistently enough to support nerve health. You can have normal blood pressure and still have significantly compromised microcirculation. The large vessels can be fine, while the small ones, the capillaries that actually feed your nerve endings, are narrowed, stiff, and underperforming. That's what peripheral neuropathy is at its root. Not a nerve problem, a circulation and oxygenation problem that eventually becomes a nerve problem. And once you understand that, the path forward becomes much clearer. Because if the problem begins in the vascular environment, in the circulation and oxygen delivery to nerve tissue, and that's where the solution has to begin as well. Now, I want to pause here for a moment, because this is where my story takes a turn. After months of waking up at 2 a.m., months of ice packs and cold tile and broken sleep, I found something. I wasn't looking for a shortcut. I was looking for something that actually addressed the root of the problem, the circulation, the oxygen delivery, the nerve environment I kept reading about, and I found a method, a specific approach to nerve support that I hadn't seen discussed anywhere in a doctor's office. I'll tell you more about it in a moment, and I'll leave the full details in the description below this video. But first, let me explain the science behind why it works. Because understanding that is what made me trust it enough to try it. Here's what I discovered when I started researching seriously. There are 3 core factors that determine whether your nerve tissue gets what it needs at night, and whether that 2 a.m. burning continues or begins to calm down. The first is microvascular health. The capillaries that reach your nerve endings need to be flexible, open, and responsive. When they're stiff and narrow, they can't deliver adequate oxygen, especially during the hours when your body is at rest and circulation slows. Supporting nitric oxide production is central to this. Nitric oxide is what tells blood vessel walls to relax, to open, to let more blood through. After 60, nitric oxide production declines significantly, and that decline is directly linked to the kind of peripheral circulation problems that drive nighttime nerve pain. Specific amino acids, L-arginine and L-citrulline in particular, have been studied for their role in supporting nitric oxide pathways and improving peripheral blood flow in aging adults. The second factor is cellular energy production within the nerve itself. Nerve cells are among the highest energy-consuming cells in the body. They run constantly, signaling, repairing, maintaining their protective coatings, and they power all of that with mitochondria. When mitochondria are under stress, for low oxygen, from chronic inflammation, from nutritional deficiencies, nerve cells can't produce the energy they need to function correctly or repair themselves efficiently. CoQ10, which declines dramatically with age and with the use of certain common medications, is critical to mitochondrial energy production. Acetyl L-carnitine supports the transport of fatty acids into the mitochondria, essentially helping fuel the process. Both have specific research supporting their use in peripheral nerve health and in reducing the kind of nighttime nerve pain I was experiencing. The third factor is inflammation management at the nerve level. Alpha-lipoic acid, a compound I kept encountering in the research, does something unusual. It crosses what's called the blood-nerve barrier, meaning it can reach nerve tissue directly and provide antioxidant protection from within. Study after study on peripheral neuropathy points to alpha-lipoic acid as one of the most clinically supported natural compounds for reducing nerve pain, improving sensation, and supporting nerve fiber health in adults over 60. Combined with specific B vitamins, B1, B6, and methylcobalamin, the active form of B12, these compounds address nerve health at the level where the problem actually originates, not just the symptom, the underlying environment. And this is exactly what the method I found was built around. It wasn't a medication. It wasn't something experimental. It was a targeted, structured approach to giving the nerve tissue precisely what the research said it needed, consistently, at the right levels, in the right combinations. I was skeptical at first. After a year of broken sleep, I'd become skeptical of most things. But the science behind it wasn't new. It wasn't speculative. It was the same research I'd been reading for months, just finally put together in a way that made practical sense. So I committed to it, consistently, without expecting miracles. The first week, I wasn't sure anything was different. The second week, I noticed the burning seemed slightly less intense. Still waking up, but the severity had shifted. By the fourth week, I was waking up less frequently. And when I did wake, the burning was more manageable. Less of the desperate need to stand on cold tile. More of a dull warmth that would ease on its own after a few minutes. By week 8, I was sleeping through most nights. Not perfectly, not every night, but most nights. And that was a transformation I hadn't experienced in almost a year. The tingling during the day, which I'd mostly ignored, also began to fade. My feet started feeling more like my feet again. Connected, present, not like something separate from me that I had to manage. I share this not to make promises, because every person is different, and I can't tell you what your body will do. But I can tell you that once I stopped treating the burning as something to endure, and started treating it as a signal about what my nerve tissue needed, and once I found a method that actually addressed that signal, everything changed. So if you're lying awake at 2 a.m. right now with burning feet, if you're standing on cold bathroom tile, trying to get 20 minutes of relief, if you've been told it's just peripheral neuropathy and given nothing useful to do about it, please hear this. That burning is a message. Your nerves are not getting what they need. The circulation, the oxygen, the cellular energy, the anti-inflammatory protection, something in that chain is falling short. And that is addressable. Not by masking the signal, but by actually improving the environment your nerve tissue lives in. The method I used, the specific nerve support approach that finally made a real difference for me, I've left everything in the description below this video. It's not complicated, it's not expensive, and it's built entirely around the clinically studied compounds I described, the ones with real research behind them, formulated specifically for aging nerve tissue. Take a look. Read through it carefully. Look up the ingredients yourself if you want. I did many times before I trusted any of it. I'd rather you investigate and come to your own conclusion than take my word for anything. But if what I described tonight sounds familiar, if the 2 a.m. burning, the tingling, the broken sleep sounds like your life right now, don't ignore it the way I did for almost a year. Your sleep matters. Your comfort matters. And the burning you feel at 2 a.m. is not something you have to accept as permanent. My name is Robert. I'm 68 years old, and I sleep through the night now. The method that helped me get here is waiting for you in the description below.